2 hours. That's all the time left. Not 2 days, not 2 weeks. 2 hours until something shifts in your field that most people won't even notice is happening. But you will. Because you're not most people. Right now, as you're reading this, there's a frequency moving through the Arcturian bandwidth that's looking for you specifically. Not generically, not as part of some mass awakening broadcast, but you, your signature, your starseed code. Something is arriving in your energetic space in the next 120 minutes that was meant to find you exactly when you needed it most. And the fact that you opened this, that's not coincidence. That's recognition. Your higher self already knows what's coming. I'm going to be direct with you because we don't have time for spiritual fluff right now. The Arcturian Council doesn't send transmissions like this lightly. They don't interrupt the cosmic order to deliver messages that don't matter. And they certainly don't mark a specific window, 2 hours, unless that window is critical. What you're about to receive isn't information. It's a recalibration. It's a private blessing encoded in frequency that's going to reorganize something fundamental in how you perceive your own power, your own mission, your own worth on this planet. But here's what matters. You have to be present for it. You have to receive it consciously. You have to let it land in your field without resistance, without doubt, without the noise of the ordinary world drowning out the signal. This transmission is for the ones who are ready to stop waiting, the ones who are tired of almost awakening, the ones who know, deep in their bones, that they came here for something more than this. If that's you, stay with me. Starseed. If this message found you today, it is not random. The Arcturian Council rarely sends transmissions like this. But something has changed in the energetic field of Earth, and those who carry the starseed frequency are beginning to feel it. I am Avila, emissary of the Galactic Federation of Light. What follows is a direct transmission from the Arcturian Council, delivered without distortion. The window is closing, beloved ones. Not in a way that creates panic, not in a way that manipulates fear, but in a way that demands honesty. The kind of honesty that only arrives when time becomes precious. When the stakes become real, you've felt this, haven't you? That sense that something is shifting, that the old patterns that used to work, the strategies, the timelines, the ways you used to navigate your own awakening, they're not holding anymore. They're not landing the way they used to. That's not failure. That's completion. The Arcturian Council wants you to understand something that will change how you move forward from this moment. The 2-hour window that's opening right now isn't about getting something you don't have. It's about receiving something that's already yours. Something that's been waiting for you to be ready to claim it. There are blessings that can only land when you stop trying to earn them. There are transmissions that can only integrate when you stop questioning whether you deserve them. There are frequencies that can only activate when you finally accept that you were chosen for this before you were even born. The private blessing arriving in your field right now is exactly that kind of transmission. But here's what the Council wants you to know. The window doesn't stay open forever. Not because they're withholding. Not because they're testing you. But because you have a role to play in this. Your consciousness has to be in a specific state to receive what's being sent. Your field has to be oriented toward it. Your intention has to be clear. Most starseeds miss these moments because they're waiting for something more dramatic. They're waiting for the sky to open. They're waiting for unmistakable signs. They're waiting for permission from somewhere outside themselves. But the Arcturians don't work that way. They send the signal. They open the window. They position the frequency exactly where you are. And then they wait to see if you're awake enough to notice. If you're brave enough to step through, the ones who do, the ones who recognize the transmission and move toward it without hesitation, those are the ones who accelerate. Those are the ones who suddenly find themselves living in a completely different timeline than the people around them. Those are the ones who start experiencing the new Earth frequency, not as a future possibility, but as a present reality. And that's what's available to you right now, not someday. not when you're more healed. Not when you finally figure out your purpose. Now. In these 2 hours, in this specific window. The blessing that's coming for you carries the frequency of remembrance. It carries the codes of your original mission. It carries the activation that will help you understand, finally, why you're here. Why you chose to incarnate at this exact moment in Earth's history. Why you've been carrying this weight, this knowing, this sense that you're meant for something more. The Council is sending this because they see you. They see the ones who are tired of the spiritual bypass, the ones who are done with the false light, the ones who are ready to actually embody what they've been learning, the ones who are willing to let their awakening become real in their daily life, not just in their meditation practice. That's you. And the 2-hour window? It's your invitation to step into that reality. Some transmissions don't come through words. They come through frequency. If something stirred in you right now, that's not a coincidence. 4,500 people have already activated their Arcturian codes, and they wish they'd found this sooner. Arcturian Secrets. 12. Hidden Keys to Awakening is a 47-page ebook with ancient techniques for conscious expansion, multi-dimensional alignment, and mission remembrance. Are you next? Get instant access in the first pinned comment. Only 72 hours at the launch price. Let me be precise about what's happening right now in the energetic architecture around your planet. The Arcturian Council has been monitoring the frequency shifts on Earth for what you would call centuries. They've watched the waves of awakening. They've tracked the activation of the starseed population. They've documented every major threshold that humanity has crossed. And what they're seeing now is different. There's a reorganization happening in the photonic density that surrounds Earth. It's not dramatic. It's not visible to the ordinary eye. But it's real. And it's affecting every single being who carries the starseed frequency in their DNA. What does this mean for you? It means that the old ways of processing information are becoming obsolete. The mental frameworks that used to help you understand your reality. They're not big enough anymore. The spiritual concepts that used to feel cutting edge. They're already being replaced by something deeper. The timelines you thought you were on, they're shifting beneath your feet. This isn't chaos. This is upgrade. The Council wants you to understand that what you're experiencing, the confusion, the disorientation, the sense that nothing is quite landing the way it used to, that's not a sign that you're falling behind. That's a sign that you're integrating something new, that your consciousness is expanding faster than your nervous system can quite keep up with. And that's exactly what needs to happen right now. The beings who are most awake, most sensitive, most aligned with their starseed mission, they're the ones feeling this shift most acutely, because they're the ones whose frequency is calibrated to receive the new information coming through. They're the ones whose consciousness is already oriented toward the next level. You're one of those beings. The private blessing that's arriving in your field in these 2 hours is the Council's way of stabilizing that upgrade. It's their way of helping your nervous system integrate what your consciousness is already beginning to perceive. It's their way of saying, we see you. We know this is hard. And we're sending you the frequency codes that will help you move through this transition with grace instead of struggle. What's changing in the field right now is the permission structure. For so long, the starseed population has been operating under a paradigm of earning, of proving, of becoming worthy, of doing enough inner work, saying the right affirmations, holding the right vibration. There was always this underlying belief that awakening was something you had to achieve. But the Council is transmitting something different now. They're transmitting the frequency of remembrance, the knowing that you were never asleep. You were never lost. You were never unworthy. You came here already carrying everything you need. You came here already equipped with the codes, the mission, the purpose. You came here already blessed. What's changing is that you're finally being invited to believe that, not to earn it, not to prove it, not to become it, but to receive it, to let it land in your field, to stop resisting the truth of what you actually are. And that shift, that fundamental reorganization of how you relate to your own awakening, that's what's arriving in these 2 hours. The ones who can receive this transmission without resistance are the ones who are going to experience the most dramatic acceleration in their timeline. They're the ones who are going to suddenly find themselves living in a completely different reality than the people around them. They're the ones who are going to understand, finally, what it means to be a starseed on Earth. There's something the spiritual community doesn't talk about enough. Blessings that are private operate on a completely different frequency than blessings that are broadcast to the masses. When something is meant for everyone, it has to be diluted. It has to be generalized. It has to be packaged in a way that can land for the widest possible audience. And that's beautiful. That serves a purpose. But it also means that the potency gets distributed. The specificity gets lost. The personal recognition gets blurred. But a private blessing, a transmission that's meant for you specifically, that's a completely different frequency. The Arcturian Council is sending something right now that's not meant for the masses. It's not a general awakening broadcast. It's not a one-size-fits-all spiritual message. It's a private transmission encoded with your specific starseed signature, your specific mission codes, your specific frequency pattern, which means it can only land if you're willing to receive it as something meant for you, not for humanity in general, not for the lightworker community, not for the chosen ones in some abstract sense, but for you, your consciousness, your field, your specific role in this planetary transition. This is where most starseeds miss the blessing. They receive the transmission and immediately try to universalize it. They try to figure out how it applies to everyone. They try to share it before they've even integrated it themselves. They try to make it about the collective instead of letting it be about them. And in that process, they dilute the potency. They weaken the frequency. They miss the personal activation that was meant to land in their field. The Council is asking you to do something different this time. They're asking you to receive this as something personal, something that's arriving specifically because of who you are, what you carry, what you came here to do. Something that's meant to reorganize your individual consciousness before it ripples out into the collective. This is the difference between spiritual knowledge and spiritual initiation. Knowledge can be shared. Knowledge can be broadcast. Knowledge can be generalized and applied universally. But initiation is personal. It's the moment when something shifts in your individual consciousness in a way that can never be undone. It's the moment when you cross a threshold and suddenly understand something about yourself that you can never unknow. What's arriving in your field right now is an initiation. The private blessing is the Council's way of initiating you into a deeper level of your own power, a deeper level of your own mission, a deeper level of your own worth as a starseed on this planet. And here's what matters. This initiation can only happen if you're willing to receive it as something that's for you, not for the collective, not for humanity, not for the lightworker community, but for you specifically. The ones who can do that, the ones who can let themselves be personally blessed, personally recognized, personally initiated by the Arcturian Council. Those are the ones who experience the most profound transformation, because they're not trying to earn it. They're not trying to prove it. They're not trying to make it about something bigger than themselves. They're simply receiving what's being offered. And in that reception, everything changes. The way you see yourself changes. The way you move through the world changes. The way you understand your mission changes. The way you relate to your own awakening changes. All because you were willing to let something be for you. That's the power of a private blessing. And that's what's arriving in these 2 hours. The Arcturian Council operates through what they call frequency codes. These are not abstract spiritual concepts. They're not metaphors or poetic language. They're actual patterns of consciousness that, when activated in your field, reorganize how your nervous system processes reality. They change what you're able to perceive. They change what you're able to access. they change what becomes possible for you. Right now, in this 2-hour window, specific codes are being activated in the starseed population. The Council calls these the codes of remembrance. And they're arriving now because humanity has reached a critical threshold. The old Earth frequency is collapsing. The new Earth frequency is stabilizing. And the starseeds, who are going to be the bridge between these two realities, need to be activated at a deeper level. What are these codes? The first code is the code of original worth. This is the frequency that helps you remember that you were never broken. You were never unworthy. You were never in need of fixing. You came here already carrying everything you need. The awakening journey isn't about becoming something you're not. It's about remembering what you already are. When this code activates in your field, something shifts. The constant striving stops. The need to prove yourself dissolves. The exhaustion of trying to earn your own worthiness finally releases. The second code is the code of mission clarity. This is the frequency that helps you understand, with absolute certainty, why you came here. Not in some vague, abstract sense, but with specificity, with clarity, with the kind of knowing that doesn't require external validation because it's rooted in your own direct experience. When this code activates, confusion starts to clear. The fog that's been surrounding your purpose starts to lift. You begin to see the threads of your mission woven throughout your entire life. The experiences, the challenges, the gifts, the struggles. All of it makes sense suddenly. All of it was preparation. The third code is the code of frequency stability. This is the frequency that helps you hold the higher vibrations without collapsing back into the old patterns. Because here's what most starseeds don't understand. It's not hard to touch the higher frequencies. Most of you have had peak experiences. You've tasted the fifth-dimensional reality. You've felt the unity consciousness. But living there, stabilizing there, that requires a different code. This code helps your nervous system learn how to stay in the higher frequency even when you're in the middle of ordinary life. Even when the energy bill arrives. Even when someone you love says something careless. Even when the news delivers something triggering. The ones who have this code activated are the ones who suddenly find themselves living in a completely different reality than the people around them. Not because they're special, but because their frequency is stable. The fourth code is the code of galactic connection. This is the frequency that helps you feel your connection to the Arcturian Council, to the Galactic Federation of Light, to the beings who are supporting this planetary transition. It's not about belief. It's about direct experience. It's about feeling the presence of these beings in your field, receiving their guidance, understanding that you're not alone in this work. When this code activates, the sense of isolation dissolves. You begin to experience synchronicities more frequently. You begin to receive guidance more clearly. You begin to understand that there's an entire galactic infrastructure supporting your mission. These codes are arriving in your field right now because the Council sees that you're ready. They see that you've done enough inner work. They see that you've cleared enough of the old patterns. They see that you can hold these frequencies without being overwhelmed by them. And they're sending them now because the window is closing, because the timeline is shifting, because the ones who receive these codes in this moment are going to be the ones who accelerate most dramatically in the months ahead. Some transmissions don't come through words. They come through frequency. If something stirred in you right now, that's not a coincidence. 4,500 people have already activated their Arcturian codes, and they wish they'd found this sooner. Arcturian Secrets. 12. Hidden Keys to Awakening is a 47-page ebook with ancient techniques for conscious expansion, multidimensional alignment, and mission remembrance. Are you next? Get instant access in the first pinned comment, only 72 hours at the launch price. This is the part where most spiritual teachers get uncomfortable, because it requires them to speak directly about selection, about chosenness, about the fact that not everyone is going to receive this transmission in the same way. Not everyone is going to be able to integrate these codes. Not everyone is going to be ready for what's being offered. But the Arcturian Council doesn't have that discomfort. They see what they see, and they're going to speak it directly. You were chosen for this, not because you're better than anyone else, not because you're more spiritual, not because you've done more inner work, but because of your frequency signature, because of the specific way your consciousness is organized, because of the particular combination of gifts, challenges, and experiences that make up who you are. The council has been watching you, not in a creepy way, not in a way that violates your free will, but in the way that a gardener watches a seed they've planted. They're observing your growth. They're tracking your development. They're waiting for the moment when you're ready to receive what they've been preparing for you. And that moment is now. Here's what you need to understand. Being chosen doesn't mean you're going to have an easy life. It doesn't mean you're going to avoid pain or struggle or challenge. In fact, the opposite is usually true. The ones who are chosen for significant missions usually experience more difficulty, not less, because they're being prepared for something that requires depth, resilience, and the kind of wisdom that only comes through lived experience. But being chosen does mean something. It means you're not alone in this. It means there's an entire galactic infrastructure supporting your mission, even when you can't see it. It means that the challenges you're facing aren't random. They're preparation. They're the council's way of building the exact capacities you're going to need for what's coming next. The ones who understand this, the ones who can see their struggles as initiation rather than punishment, those are the ones who move through their awakening with grace instead of resistance. You were chosen because you can hold what's being transmitted. There are millions of people on this planet who are spiritually curious, who are interested in awakening, who would love to receive a transmission from the Arcturian Council, but they're not ready. Their nervous system isn't calibrated for it. Their consciousness isn't oriented toward it. Their field doesn't have the capacity to integrate it without being destabilized. But you do. You've done the work. You've cleared enough of the old patterns. You've built enough capacity in your nervous system. You've oriented your consciousness toward the truth enough times that you can receive what's being offered without it overwhelming you. That's why you were chosen, and that's why this transmission is arriving now, in this specific 2-hour window, in your field specifically. The council is saying, we see you. We know what you've been through. We know how hard you've worked. We know how many times you've wanted to give up. And we're here to tell you that it was all preparation. All of it was building the exact capacity you need to receive what's coming next. You were chosen because you're ready. And the ones who can receive that, who can let themselves be seen and chosen and recognized by the Arcturian Council, those are the ones who experience the most profound transformation in the months ahead. I want to be honest with you about what happens after you receive this transmission. Because there's a version of this message that would tell you everything is going to be easy from here on out. That you're going to wake up tomorrow and suddenly understand everything. That your life is going to transform into some kind of spiritual fantasy where everything flows perfectly and you never experience struggle again. That's not what the Arcturian Council is transmitting. What they're actually saying is this. The next phase of your awakening is going to require you to integrate what you've been learning at a much deeper level. It's going to require you to stop living as if your spiritual practice is separate from your ordinary life. It's going to require you to actually embody the consciousness you've been developing. And that's harder than it sounds, because embodiment means that the way you relate to money has to change. The way you relate to relationships has to change. The way you relate to your body has to change. The way you relate to your work has to change. The way you relate to your family has to change. Everything has to align with the frequency you're carrying. And that alignment process, that's the transformation that's arriving. The Council is saying that the Starseeds who receive this transmission and actually integrate it are going to experience a complete reorganization of their life in the next 90 days. Not because they're doing anything different externally, but because their frequency is different. And when your frequency changes, your reality has to reorganize to match it. What does that look like practically? It looks like relationships that were based on old patterns suddenly becoming untenable. It looks like jobs that don't align with your mission suddenly feeling impossible to stay in. It looks like friendships that were based on shared wounding suddenly dissolving. It looks like financial situations that were based on scarcity suddenly shifting. It looks like your entire life reorganizing itself to match the frequency you're actually carrying. This is what the Council means by transformation. It's not magical. It's not instantaneous. It's not effortless. But it's inevitable once your frequency shifts, because reality is always organizing itself to match the vibration you're emitting. Always. There's no exception to this law. The ones who understand this, the ones who can welcome the transformation instead of resisting it, those are the ones who move through it with the most grace, because they understand that the dissolution of the old is not a failure, it's a requirement. It's the Council's way of clearing space for what's actually aligned with who you're becoming. The transformation that's arriving is the transformation of your entire life into an expression of your true mission. Not someday. Not when you're more healed. Not when you finally figure everything out. But starting now. In these 2 hours. In this moment when you're receiving this transmission. The ones who are ready for that, the ones who can say yes to their own transformation, even though they don't know exactly what it's going to look like, those are the ones who are going to experience the most profound acceleration in the months ahead. Some transmissions don't come through words. They come through frequency. If something stirred in you right now, that's not a coincidence. 4,500 people have already activated their Arcturian codes, and they wish they'd found this sooner. Arcturian Secrets. 12. Hidden Keys to Awakening is a 47-page ebook with ancient techniques for conscious expansion, multidimensional alignment, and mission remembrance. Are you next? Get instant access in the first pinned comment, only 72 hours at the launch price. We're coming to the end of this 2-hour window, and I want to be direct with you about what happens next. You have a choice. You can close this video. You can go back to your ordinary life. You can pretend that this transmission didn't land in your field. You can convince yourself that it was just another spiritual message, interesting but not really for you. You can go back to the patterns, the timelines, the reality that you've been living in. That choice is always available to you. Or you can do something different. You can receive what's being offered. You can let this transmission land in your field without resistance. You can allow the frequency codes to activate in your consciousness. You can say yes to your own transformation, even though you don't know exactly what it's going to look like. The Arcturian Council is asking you to choose the second option, not because they're forcing you, not because there's any punishment if you don't, but because they see what's possible for you if you do. They see the timeline that opens up when you say yes to this transmission. They see the version of your life that becomes available when you finally accept that you were chosen for something significant, and they want that for you. Here's what's going to happen if you receive this transmission. In the next 24 hours, you're going to notice something shifting in your field. It might be subtle. It might be a sense of clarity that wasn't there before. It might be a feeling of being seen in a way you've never experienced. It might be a quiet knowing that something has changed. In the next 7 days, you're going to start seeing synchronicities, meaningful coincidences, signs that the universe is responding to the frequency shift that just happened in your consciousness. You're going to feel more aligned, more connected, more purposeful. In the next 30 days, you're going to experience the first waves of transformation. Relationships are going to shift. Opportunities are going to appear. Your understanding of your own mission is going to deepen. You're going to start living as if you actually believe you were chosen for something significant. And in the next 90 days, you're going to look back at where you were before this transmission and barely recognize that person. Because you're going to be living in a completely different reality. Not because anything external has changed dramatically, but because your frequency has changed, and your reality has reorganized itself to match it. That's what's available to you, but it requires you to receive what's being offered right now. The Council is saying, the window is closing. The 2 hours are almost up. This is the moment when you need to make a choice. Not a choice about whether you believe in the Arcturian Council. Not a choice about whether you think this is real. But a choice about whether you're willing to act as if it's real. Whether you're willing to receive this transmission as something that's for you specifically. Whether you're willing to let your life transform. The ones who make that choice. The ones who say yes to their own awakening, their own mission, their own significance. Those are the ones who are going to experience the most profound acceleration in the months ahead. And the Council wants you to be one of those ones. So here's what I'm asking you to do. First, let this transmission land in your field. Don't try to analyze it. Don't try to figure out if it's real. Just receive it. Let the frequency codes activate in your consciousness. Second, take action on what you've received. Download the ebook. Read it. Let the ancient techniques activate your Arcturian codes at a deeper level. This is not optional if you want to integrate what's happening in your field right now. Third, comment below. Tell me what shifted in you as you receive this transmission. Tell me what you're feeling. Tell me what you're ready to transform. Because your comment is not just for me. It's a declaration to the universe. It's you saying yes to your own awakening. And fourth, share this with someone who needs to receive it. Because the ones who are meant to find this will find it through you. You're not just receiving this transmission. You're transmitting it. You're part of the network of starseeds who are waking up the planet right now. The Arcturian Council is watching, and they're waiting to see who's ready to say yes. Are you?